What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Lindsay, thank you for being here with me.
Thanks for having me.
Always. I'm really excited for this video. This concept is very applicable, I think, to our trading, to our everyday life. So I was really looking forward to this conversation, and I know the YouTube community is as well. So before we get into it, I want to remind everybody that going into this coming week, we have a very important webinar coming up. So make sure you check the link in the description if you're watching this before September 19th, 2020. Check the link in the description. It's down in the pinned comments. I want to make sure you are all there. Lindsay will be there for this free webinar that I've put together. I mean, I've been working on this now behind the scenes. Like, I try not to talk about stuff before it's ready. It's been about 3 or 4 months of research and doing the PDF, working with the marketing team. So I'm really excited for this, and I want to have as many people there as we can just to get the free value. Of course, we're going to have an offer for people to sign up at the end and get a great deal to join the team. But even if you're already on the team, I have some research and some facts that I think everybody should be aware of. Going into, Lindsay, I call it all the time, the digital age, like the coming technology wave that we are like living through. So I think it's going to be an awesome webinar. Yeah, it'll be awesome. So for today's video, and make sure you guys listening, watching, wherever you're watching or listening, you're subscribed so you don't miss any future videos. But for today, we're going to talk about first the concept of failing forward. This idea of, like, I used to say back in the day, I haven't said it in a long time really, but consistent persistence, where I'm just going to keep going at something no matter what, no matter how many times I fail, I'll try to take a lesson from it and then keep going. Like this just relentless drive, like an unwavering determination towards some type of mission. And I think you have to find that where you're passionate so you can really feel this like sense of satisfaction as you fail forward. It has to be behind what you're passionate about. For Lindsay and me, I think it's trading, and I'm sure there's other things Lindsay has been failing forwards towards, maybe being a mom, like, you can always be better as a parent, stuff like that. But,
that's one of the hardest challenges.
Exactly. But for you, where did you first hear this concept of like failing forward, taking lessons out of every experience, no matter what? Where does it go back to for you?
Entrepreneurship on its own, we know is not an easy road. So if you're going to come into the kind of online world of entrepreneurship, you have to know that you're going to have to fail forward first. And there's going to be hurdles and struggles all the way until you can learn and grow and evolve in the journey to get where you're going. So you have to have that big drive, determination, motivation to get you there. And there is going to be days where you don't want to do it. But if you have the mindset of that determination, the motivation to get you there, then you can keep going. And I think when you can see somebody that has true success within the field that you're in, you know that if they can do it, there's nothing stopping you being able to do it.
That was my thing with trading. Like, I always looked at it, people were always like, majority of people were like, you're not going to make money doing that, because most people don't make money. But all I needed was one person to make money trading for me to say, oh, if they did it, I can do it. I'm that, because it aligned with me so much, like what trading is, the lifestyle, the income potential. I was like, look, if one person's done it, I know I can go do it. So how do you, on a daily basis now, apply the failing forward idea into your trading? I know you don't, and again, I don't mean to like say this and sound like, fishy, scammy, anything like that, but you haven't really lost trades since June. You don't lose very often, Lindsay.
I haven't. But
so for someone like you, how do you fail forward? If you're not losing, how do you fail forward? That's an interesting question when you think about it.
It is, but there's still small things that I know I can be doing better. So even
like
just routine.
Give me more information.
Just routine in general. So I can say that my yoga hasn't been on point. And
I could say that too. Yeah. Because you used to be on it on your Instagram stories.
On it.
Yep.
And I haven't been during lockdown. I slipped. Having kids at home, keeping routine was a struggle for me.
Yep.
And now that they're back at school full time,
so now you can get back on it.
I know that I need to get back on, because I can just feel it within myself. I can feel it slightly within my mindset that I'm not fully on point.
And you think that stuff there, like the yoga in particular, if you're off routine there, that could translate into the trading negatively, right? Because it's not, I feel like for me, it's like the meditation. Like if I have found that if I don't meditate before I trade, I'm very quick to take a bad trade, take an early loss, get caught up in whatever the group chat is talking about, you know what I mean? And not stay my best self. So I can definitely relate to that. I think for me, a lot of my failing forward, especially on like the coaching side, and I want to hear your input on this because this is separate from what we do on the active trading side, but like on the coaching, I try to ask better questions. Like whenever there's a situation where I'm talking to somebody and maybe we're not getting to the point that I want us to get to, I always turn to myself and I would ask myself, bro, are you asking the right questions? Are you asking the right questions as a coach? What do you look to, anything in particular in yourself to fail forward to be better as a coach as you do more calls?
So I still can slip on, and I've said this before, markups, putting my markups in and letting them see where my thoughts are at, because it's okay to speak about a trade setup, but they don't see your thought process. Right. So for me, I know that that's definitely something I can step up more to help with.
That's like my biggest pet peeve. You know that. You know it. I hate that when people just come in and say, hey, here's my idea. It's already a winning trade. I hate that. It's like you want to show the thought process so we can repeat that. The winning trade, it doesn't matter. The process is what matters so much more. How does the idea of like the failing forward tie into your why? Because I feel like if you're not tapped into what's motivating you, it's really hard to fail forward, right?
I think for me, when I first came into Forex trading, I was taught that I must find my why first, because I was getting told the challenge in front of me, the journey in front of me wasn't going to be the straight path. It was going to be so hard. There was going to be obstacles. And if I didn't tap into my why, how would I get there? So that was kind of the first thing I was taught. So it was the first thing that I did was tap into my why and really dig deep to see why was I actually coming into Forex? What were the things that I wanted from coming in here? And when I found that, and when I have been struggling, because I was a struggling trader in the beginning, that I always tap back to the why. So on days where I maybe thought, oh, I had a rubbish day yesterday and I don't know if I can go push forward today, I would just come back to the why and look at it, and I had it all written down.
That was my next question. Is it written down somewhere for you to like look at? Is it in your trading plan? Yeah.
And I have, your affirmations that I need to read to keep me going of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Sure.
So I always have to go back to that.
So where I think this like translates for all the people listening, when you come into the ASFX community, I feel like no matter what, the best traders in our group, they do a lot of testing on their own. They do a lot of markups on their own. They're working on their craft. They're trying to master their edge every day. And where that then takes them is they're never trading the same way as me, and they're never trading the same way as you. They all have, like the best traders in our group, they all have this unique ability within the edge, like this uniqueness, that it's what I call it, within the edge. And I think, and this is what you said to me earlier, and I agree with it just so much, the only way people can, like the people who aren't that consistent yet within our group can get to looking like them is realizing that the only reason they got there is because they were so motivated to fail forward by their why that they eventually found an edge within the edge that really fit their bill for how they wanted to trade. You know what I mean? And you've seen that with some of the guys, like recently. Jerome's is one of the guys I think of always right away. Mateo, some of these guys that have been coming up, and they're really putting in a lot of work, and then it shows. It's like they're in the gym and then they come out and they're looking like husky, you know what I'm saying? But it's all in here instead. How did you find your edge initially when you came in? Because everybody knows that you were like skeptical and then you joined ASFX. When you came in, was it the same way, just working, just markups?
It was just markups, and the same thing. It's going back to when you see somebody having the success.
Yeah. So don't reinvent it, just go do it.
Just go and do it. So I just came in, and obviously being that struggling trader, not having the consistency before coming in, I just knew that I was going to come in and whatever Austin said, I was going to do. Because I could see the success within you. And at that point in the community, I didn't know anybody else to really kind of look upon to say that, I want to be like them. So I just followed you, and then you kept saying you need to do your trap markups, you need to show up every day. And I just did everything that was taught. And I believe that's how I've been able to come in and have the success I'm having.
And then look at now, I think everybody in the group sees you still doing it. Now, like you said, some days you're not posting the markups as much as you used to or whatever, but the consistent, it's because you're coaching people a lot of the time every day. You're on coaching calls talking about the same 3 trades. Why would you go and do a markup of it? You've already talked about it 3 times today. You know what I mean? So I understand that. That's the same position that I'm in. But I think everybody can see that even now, the reason you're someone that's still successful with ASFX is because you're still doing the work. It isn't something, everybody has to understand. It isn't something you run up the hill, you're at the top of the hill, and then it's flat. It drops off. So if you don't keep running, I know this is a bad analogy kind of, but if you don't keep moving up the hill, you fall back down the hill, so to speak.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. I think because if you're not doing the chart markups and the generating the ideas every single day, that's when you're not staying sharp.
Right, exactly.
That's
Exactly.
Forex is a thing that you can come in and just dip your toe in and say, you know, oh, I'm going to come to charts on Monday, but I maybe not come back to charts till Thursday.
Right.
You've got to come in and be consistent.
I love the idea that like trading, it just weeds out the weaker people, the weak-minded people, and it challenges those that are actually strong-willed to push through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's really what we're talking about here. Like, it does weed out the people. It's funny because I feel like so many people would talk about trading like, yo, this is the easiest thing. You should get into this. Lambo money, you know what I'm saying? But you and me are both like, yo, this is going to be hard. It's a journey. It's going to require work. But if you love it enough, and this is what I say to people. I was on a podcast last week with a buddy of mine from like 15 years ago. We were friends because our dad were friends and blah, blah, blah. And I was just, he's a guy that wants to make money. He's like, yo, I might just get into this, Austin. Like, I've never heard of Forex. You're making it easy to understand, because I was explaining to them the basics. And he's like, I might get into this. And I was like, listen, I know you want to make money, but I can tell because I've seen their content. I'm like, you guys have the real estate bug. You guys are really interested in real estate. You're not that interested in trading yet. When you are, then you can be that committed to really what I was saying was fail forward and be okay with it and go through that hard work and go through that journey. You know what I mean? You have to love it to some degree, I think. If this was like the scale of loving it, you got to be 51% or more. You can't be 50% or less. Yeah,
no,
you can't.
No, because I can so remember coming in, and even my hubby kept saying to me, Lindsay, you're always in them charts. And I was like, but I love it.
I know. Even last night, like I was tired last night.
By these charts.
Well, but it's like, you know what it is? Because when you and me look at it, I think we see, oh, if I work here, if I put in my effort, I get rewarded equally. There's not many jobs where if you put in your best effort, you get paid an equivalent of that. You know what I'm saying?
No.
So to have that opportunity, I don't even see candles anymore. I see freedom. I know that's corny, but it's, I bet you know what I'm saying. You know, that's what it is. Yeah. And even go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, it is funny when you see that, because, and it's just, I had a question, even when I look at my charts now and trading black candles, I'm still like, oh my goodness, that was one thing that I now look at and think, why did we not do that initially? Why is that not taught?
That is such a good, listen, we are going to be the people that get known for starting that. I'm telling you, because I put up a video about that on Instagram. We've been talking about my Instagram content. You know how I was saying the caption pictures, the caption videos haven't been doing good? That one got 3,000 views. So it's doing good. People are really on that idea. It's making a lot of people be like, oh, it doesn't make a difference. It actually makes it easier. So
it makes it easier.
But even there, I think that's another thing we should touch on too before we get too far off topic. Open-mindedness is a big characteristic that you need to really know and have within yourself if you're going to fail forward, because failing forward means being open-minded to say, well, I was wrong. I thought Euro USD was going up and it's going down. I was wrong. What do I need to do here to get better? That type of open-mindedness leads you to failing forward. If you're stubborn and you're like, I'm right, I'm moving my stop, I gotta be right, you're never going to fail forward. You're going to fail backwards and run out of money and burn out, you know? So I think I think this is a really good conversation, and I'm hoping that everybody listening, watching is taking some value out of this. To just tie it into today. Today is September 8th, 2020. It's Tuesday after the bank holiday. I know you and I were talking about a couple of trade ideas this morning. I'm looking at Euro USD, basically flat today. The dollar index is up over 93 again, so up a little bit on the day. But a couple of things just to kind of tie it into what we spoke about here today and failing forward. When you see some trade ideas, something that I like bring up often is there is a difference, and you help me get this out too, this message, that there's a difference between the trade ideas and the trades that are worth your money. And where I see a lot of traders hitting hiccups is it's really in a situation where they could be failing forward. It's where they see a trade idea, for example, GBP USD or GJ today, that isn't that probable. More often than not, that won't work for you. They take the trade, it ends up being a winner, and it's actually kind of reinforcing a bad habit within them. It's not really at that point then failing forward. It's not really taking any value from the trade. It's actually reinforcing a bad habit. So where I would say everybody, and Lindsay, I'm interested to know your thoughts on this too, but where I would tell people to pivot their thought process is like, don't look at the trade as I should have been in this, but look at the trade as what will this do when this presents 100 times in a row. You know what I mean? What is this going to do the next 100 times? That's where you should then be making the decision on the trade. What do you think about the idea?
I totally agree with everything you've just said, because I never pulled the trigger on them. So I didn't like them, and regardless of the bias you have on a trade, you still have to put probabilities in your favour. And I go off higher time frames, and I could see the short bias.
100%. No one's arguing the bias, you know? No one was fighting them on the bias. You know what I mean?
I wasn't. That was the thing. I wasn't fighting them on the bias, because if the bias was the same, I was fighting them against the probabilities, because there was too many probabilities on that that made me stay out. Regardless if it falls 50, 60 pips, they're not my pips.
You know, you just made me think of a good thing too that goes into the idea of failing forward. If you don't have a lot of money to trade with, it's probably really hard to fail forward, because you're going to be taking as many trades as you can, even though you shouldn't be, right? You're going to be stretching yourself to try to make money and grow that account, even though you shouldn't be. But if you had more money in your account, if everybody was capitalized the correct way, it'd be a lot easier to be like, oh, I have 100K. I lost $2,000 today. Nothing. Move on. Come back tomorrow. See what else I can do. Fail. What did I mess up there? Let me learn something and not repeat that again. Oh, I lost another $2,000. Okay, I got 96K left to trade. You know what I mean? It's just a totally different perspective when you have the right capital. So I think you want to try, as a trader, when you're listening to us and thinking about how you're going to apply this into your own trading, try to see yourself with that 100K account if you're not there yet, or the $1 million account if you're
I was just going to say that, the $1 million account, you know, would you, and I've just done a content creation on that, and one of the things was, is that a trade you're going to pull the trigger on your $1 million account? And I can probably guarantee 95% of the traders are going to say, no, they wouldn't have.
Well, here's the thing,
that wasn't worth the money.
100%. I agree with you so much. And I think the difference is a lot of traders, and I've lived this, and maybe you have too, but like, and this is probably another topic for another video too, but like, I think a lot of traders are in what I would call like survival mindset, where they don't understand what life would even be like when they have $1 million, how selective they would be with their money in so many other ways. But once you actually start making some money and getting near that million, or you cross that million, then you're like, oh, now I get what selectivity really means. Now I get what it means to be willing to commit to a long-term process. But it's a paradox, because you don't get there unless you commit to that earlier. So it's very interesting. You know what I mean? But I think it is important to touch on how the capitalization, how much money you're trading, can tie into the whole perspective that you have on trading. If you don't have a lot of money to trade, it's very easy to think like trading's a scam. This is not a real business. This ain't going to work for me, you know, because you're trying to flip $100 into 1,000. But there's plenty of traders that start with 100K and they're able to grow that consistently over time and turn it into millions. So yeah, failing forward is, I think, the only thing that allows that to happen.
And I can even go on that, you know, when we're talking about account sizes, because I didn't start with a lot of money. I started, especially 3.5 years ago, my account was so small. But I still think that comes back down to your why. And if your why is big enough, then it shouldn't matter what size of account you have, because you can grow it. And, you know, there's other, as we say, you're always looking for other streams of income to generate, push into that account. So regardless of the size of income, I still think it comes back down to your why and how much you're working on that mindset of being the Forex trader you want to be.
Yep. And that'll keep you pushing forward. So for everybody listening, comment below on YouTube if you're watching the video. Let us know what situation in your trading, or even in your everyday life, if you want to share that, have you had to fail forward through, and how have you come through it? Let's see if we can get some conversation going. I'm interested to hear some of the other trader stories. And maybe what we'll do, Lindsay, is we'll bring somebody else on and see if maybe like one of the newer ASFX guys would be willing to talk about recent experience that they're having where they're failing forward through something, like maybe as we speak, so to speak. So we'll see if we can get another video going on this topic. I think it's definitely very important. So I appreciate your time, Linz. Thank you so much. Everybody watching, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks.